Saudi Arabia's public investment fund has reportedly pulled back future funding for LIV Golf after pouring in an estimated $5 billion since 2022. That number alone reshapes the entire conversation around the league's future. But the twist that few people are talking about is this. While LIV Golf reportedly faces conversations with bankruptcy advisors, its biggest individual star may be positioning himself to become an owner, not just a player. By the end of this breakdown, you will understand exactly what Bryson DeChambeau currently owns, what is reportedly on the table for him next, and why this could become one of the most significant ownership stories in modern golf. Before going further, here is the financial backdrop that makes this story possible in the first place. Reports from April 2026 indicated that the PIF would not commit further funding to LIV Golf beyond the 2026 season. Multiple reports also indicated that LIV received only a fraction of the roughly $600 million it reportedly expected for 2026, leaving a funding gap in the hundreds of millions of dollars while events remained on the calendar. LIV Golf CEO Scott O'Neill was reportedly tasked with finding new capital and making the league financially sustainable independent of PIF's original funding model. In late July 2026, two competing reports circulated in the same week. One described a rescue financing deal worth more than $250 million in progress, while another described preparations that resembled steps toward bankruptcy filing. If you are following the business side of golf as closely as we are, this is exactly the kind of story where subscribing to Golf Orbit matters. We are not chasing the loudest headline. We track competing reports, cross-check the numbers, and bring you the clearest possible read on where this is actually heading. So if this is useful to you, hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment with your own prediction on how this ownership situation plays out. I read every single one. Now let's talk about what Bryson DeChambeau actually owns, because this is the part of the story that changes everything. In 2022, DeChambeau signed with LIV Golf and secured a 25% equity stake in his team, Crushers GC, with the PIF holding the remaining 75%. That ownership stake means DeChambeau's earnings are not limited to his individual play. When Crushers GC wins as a team, DeChambeau receives a share of that team prize money based directly on his ownership percentage. In practical terms, he currently occupies three roles simultaneously inside LIV Golf. He is a competing player, a content-driving personality with a massive individual following, and an equity holder in a professional sports franchise. That combination is rare in professional sports, and it is central to understanding why this ownership story matters so much right now. This is where the new ownership pitch comes in, and it directly affects DeChambeau's position. CEO Scott O'Neill has publicly stated that LIV Golf team stakes are effectively for sale, with new outside investors potentially able to acquire between 60 and 70% ownership positions in individual franchises. This creates immediate tension for existing team captains who already hold equity, including DeChambeau. His current 25% stake in Crushers GC could be diluted by new investment, bought out entirely, or, in the scenario generating the most discussion, consolidated upward into a larger ownership position for DeChambeau himself. Publicly, DeChambeau has stated he intends to do everything in his power to make the situation work in his favor. That stands in contrast to fellow LIV golfer Jon Rahm, who has taken a more passive, wait-and-see approach regarding the ownership situation surrounding his own team, Legion 13. Before we go further into the speculation, here's a quick question for you. Do you think DeChambeau ends up increasing his ownership stake in Crushers GC, or does an outside investor end up taking control of the franchise instead? Drop your prediction in the comments below. I'll be pinning the best ones. And if breakdowns like this, covering the real business mechanics behind professional golf, are valuable to you, this is exactly the kind of content Golf Orbit was built around. So make sure you are subscribed before the next update on this story drops. Now to the centerpiece of this entire story, the scenario currently circulating that DeChambeau could move from a 25% minority owner to a majority or even full owner of Crushers GC, specifically, not the league as a whole.
It's important to be direct about this. This is unconfirmed speculation at this stage, not a finalized deal. That said, there is a commercial case supporting why this scenario keeps coming up in industry conversation. Crushers GC has won a team championship, has claimed regular season titles, and secured major sponsorship partnerships. DeChambeau's individual social media reach also significantly outpaces that of most of his LIV peers, giving the franchise built around him a commercial value that extends beyond golf performance alone. If LIV Golf survives in any restructured form, keeping a franchise that's already self-sustaining intact would carry real value for any new ownership group stepping in. Again, this is the speculative center of the story, and it should be treated exactly that way until an actual transaction is confirmed. To understand how any of this could realistically happen, it helps to understand the bankruptcy angle in plain terms without drowning in legal jargon. There's a critical difference between Chapter 11 restructuring and Chapter 7 liquidation. Chapter 11 is built around survival. A company reorganizes its debts and obligations while continuing to operate. Chapter 7 is built around shutting down entirely and liquidating remaining assets. If LIV Golf were to pursue a Chapter 11-style restructuring, accumulated net operating losses and related tax carry-forwards could actually make a restructured franchise more attractive to a potential buyer, not less. Outside bankruptcy law commentary has framed this type of multi-creditor restructuring as complex but not impossible, particularly for a young organization like LIV Golf that has accumulated large financial obligations in a short period of time. Player contracts are treated as major liabilities inside this kind of process. For most players, that's simply a risk, but for a player who also holds equity like DeChambeau, renegotiating those obligations could function as a strategic lever rather than a pure loss. If terms like Chapter 11, net operating losses, and franchise equity are new to you, that's exactly why Golf Orbit exists, to make these business stories understandable without needing a law degree or a finance background. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update the moment this story develops further, because based on the reporting timeline, that could happen soon. DeChambeau's own public comments help humanize this shift from player to stakeholder. In April 2026, he described LIV Golf as a startup going through a difficult financial squeeze, language that reflects a founder's mindset rather than simply an employee's perspective. Alongside this, contract extension talks have reportedly continued, and DeChambeau has maintained a consistently upbeat public tone, even as uncertainty around the league's finances has grown. This positions him as a case study in athlete-as-owner thinking, a trend that's becoming increasingly relevant across professional sports leagues, not just in golf. So where do things actually stand right now? Several LIV Golf events remain on the 2026 calendar. A financing deal has reportedly been in the process of being finalized. Bankruptcy advisors have reportedly been retained by the league, and multiple players have reportedly been left with no clear information about what happens next. It's worth separating fact from rumor one more time before moving forward. What is confirmed is the funding pullback from the PIF and Scott O'Neill's public comments about team ownership stakes being available to outside investors. What remains rumor and unconfirmed speculation is the specific scenario of DeChambeau buying out the team entirely. The next few months will be critical, with a reported September financing deadline, remaining tournament events, and the possibility of a formal bankruptcy filing all still on the table. Putting this all together, if LIV Golf survives in any form going forward, DeChambeau's commercial value and existing equity position make him one of the central figures in whatever comes next for the league, not simply a headline name attached to the story, but a financial stakeholder with direct leverage over how it plays out. The open question remains whether he ends up expanding his ownership or whether outside capital ends up taking control instead. If you made it this far in this breakdown, you clearly care about where professional golf is heading, not just who wins on a Sunday. That's exactly the audience Golf Orbit was built for. Hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, like this video, and leave a comment with your prediction on how this ownership situation plays out. I read every single one, and I'll be back with the next update the moment this story moves forward.